So in terms of the sort of agenda, I'm going to basically say viewability is pretty rubbish, and it delivers a rubbish video format. I'm going to say attention's amazing, and it helps us really understand what good video advertising is about. I have a little bit of a vested interest in that we sell in-app video, so I'll be saying why in-app video and why TV are great environments for delivering attention. So yeah, without further ado. So this, for me, this picture here is exactly what viewability is. In no sort of sane world would the out-of-home industry accept that kind of advert. But in digital, we accept that. We accept in view for a video unit is in view for 50% of the time for 2 seconds. And here's another example on TV. We wouldn't accept it on TV. This is pretty badly edited, but hopefully you get the point. And this is really interesting, this slide, because I've presented it at a couple of conferences, and the technical people at the top there always email back and go, there's something wrong with slide number 4. It looks like the video's in the corner of the screen and it's all wrong. And of course, this says it all really about digital video and how bad digital video has become, in my mind, purely because we have this ridiculous metric of viewability. And the result of this metric of viewability is these stats. So Moat do this study, I'm sure IS do it and DV do it as well, but they look at all the tag data that they collect in the UK, and they have benchmarks for the UK in terms of how advertising is working, in terms of digital advertising. So these are the stats for digital video. So this is not our data, this is Moat's data. The average amount of time a video ad is shown in the UK on digital is 2.3 seconds. So the average amount of screen real estate a video has on digital is 12%, and only about 14% of ads complete. So it's a shambles of a sort of aggregate level of data. And I suppose it got me thinking in terms of why that is. Why have we accepted it? Why is viewability and that way of measuring viewability acceptable? I think the challenge in digital is that a lot of brand managers don't actually see a lot of their ads. So if they saw them in the corner of the screen scrolling with no audio, they'd think it was insane. They'd take their media, they'd be speaking to their media agency about how that's actually delivering. I think we separate media and creative too much, so there's not enough alignment there. There's no doubt that a certain social network was very instrumental in the MRC definition of what viewability was. So setting those incredibly low benchmarks for what a video impression should be is a culprit of how we've got down this path. And I think we just, as an industry, and we're all guilty of it, we've been so obsessed about the sort of granular targeting that digital can do. We've taken our eyes off the creative and the format and storytelling and what video advertising should be about. So those would be my rationale in terms of why we've gone down this path. So attention's come along, and I loved listening to all these panels, everyone speaking about attentions, because it's clearly still new. I suppose when you're working in the industry and you're talking about attention all day, you think, well, Christ, this is so obvious. But it is such a new metric for understanding. Oh, here we go. So why should we care about it? And all the panelists, everyone on the conference so far has talked about business outcomes. And this is a great slide that Mike and the Lumen team put together, which is also stating the obvious. It's like, if you pay attention to an advert, you get better memory retention, then better mental availability, and that leads to brand growth. And I think that's sort of the most obvious thing that people that work in advertising should get. However, it's kind of gets lost and muddied in the water of programmatic and conflicting interests between demand and supply. But these are the basics in terms of what attention's needed for. This is a stat that Amplified Intelligence, also a great attention vendor, put out into the market, which is saying you basically need a minimum of 2.5 seconds of attention to get that sort of minimum attention memory threshold. And remember this in the context of what attention most digital video is delivering, and I've got some slides on it in a few slides' time. This is one of these strange build slides, which I have no idea how that happened. But so looking at the world between two different lenses. One is on viewability, MRC definition of viewability. So at the top there, you've got 70% of my ads are working under MRC rules of what viewability is. And then if you look at the same bit of data through the lens of attention, only 17% of your ads are delivering greater than 2.5 seconds worth of attention. So the problem wasn't viewable when we were measuring viewability, was the kind of irony of all of this. So for me, this data is shocking, the amount of ads that we deliver on video in this country, delivering that level of attention or that level of viewability. So this wasn't me sucking up to the guy that, I think his name is Ian, that is from Specsavers, but this, we put this in place because I wanted to remind everyone what video advertising should be about as we talk through the data. So hopefully this is a good example of a great advert that you need to listen, watch, understand the story in order for the message to come alive.
Sorry, mate.
Looks heavy.
Delivery.
This says block 2. It's over there, mate.
I'm not sucking up to you on that one. It's a great ad, but obviously within the context of digital video, most digital video placements could not run that if you wanted to tell the story, if you wanted to get to the end, to the point where it delivers the message. And if you look at lots and lots of video ads that exist in online video, they're still running their TV ad with the messaging that comes in at the end, and obviously most people have left the ad by that point. The other joke of digital video, and it's actually, I was in a meeting with a programmatic head, and we were talking about how wonderful our video was, and sound on, and full screen, and all these types of things, and the guy said to me, whoa, actually the IAB regulations are that digital video should have sound off as default. So that's the world that we live in. We've indoctrinated ourselves into this belief that 2 seconds in view, no audio, is some kind of acceptable way of delivering digital video. If you come from a creative agency background and you make these videos, there's no chance that you would buy into this kind of rhetoric and narrative. So we've got some stats now. Lumen have done some great stats on benchmarking the marketplace, which is super interesting in terms of how the different digital channels compare up against each other when it comes to attention. I know Playground do some similar benchmarking, and I know Adelaide do, and Amplified Intelligence. They're all great attention vendors. We love all of them. But this is an interesting study in terms of how the different formats. So we've got Outstream, go below that 2.5 seconds ads. Interestingly, an Outstream digital video vendor calls themselves the Attention Video Network, which is ironic given they don't get above the minimum of 2.5 seconds. Then we have our social media companies coming around 2.5 seconds. To be fair to Google, is up towards 4.5 seconds, but there's a reason why TV does very, very well, because it stops the content, plays the video in full with sound on, all that kind of basic stuff. So unsurprisingly, TV does well. Digital does appallingly badly in most of those formats. So the way that we think about it at Digital Turbine, or the way that most people should think about TV, is it stops the content, the ads play. It's a great cooperative collaboration, if you like, between the advertiser, the consumer, and the publisher. The publisher's getting pretty decent CPMs. The advertiser's getting their ad played properly. They can do their storytelling, they can get their messaging across, they can put audio on, all the basic things. When you sit down in an atrium and creative agency shows you your ad, it gets displayed as it should be. The consumer knows there's going to be an ad break, it's expected, they know it's a value exchange, they know it funds the TV, and the publisher, as I said, gets high CPMs. So this is the other side of the equation, which is digital. So oh Christ, I've gone too far. There we go. Probably shouldn't blaspheme in a church, so I'll remember that one. Here is digital video ads. This is kind of what most digital video ads look like. They're sort of scrolling around the page. You barely see a couple of seconds of it. There's kind of, from a consumer perspective, it's pretty irritating, it's distracting because you're doing something else. From an advertiser's perspective, I've got virtually no audio, no completion. I can barely tell my story. And the publisher, I've got to ram so many ads down the throat of the page to get my CPMs in monetization up that the whole balance doesn't work. That collaborative thing between those three vendors or those three parts of the value chain doesn't work. So obviously, as I come to, we're from an in-app space and we sell in-app. The crescendo of the presentation is to talk about why in-app is actually even better than TV and give a bit of context to why our environment is an interesting place when it comes to delivering attention. So enormous amounts of attention. These are from Lumen's data, not ours. So why is it in-app so good? So I thought it'd be useful just to show our video format in-app. It's a new channel. Most brands and agencies are getting accustomed to that channel. I thought I'd reference the fact that the average age of Wordscape, which have millions of users on a daily basis, is 39. It's not 7, which is the misconstrued view of the world that all people that play digital games are 7-year-olds. And here we go. Here's the advert. So if you notice, the advert plays with the audio, which should come through on this, and then there's sort of interactivity at the end of the ad. It's not actually from the UK, but it'll do as an example.
Wow. Mia, can you send me that?
Sure.
Can you send me that?
Hey, can you send me that? Sure.
It's incredible.
So I did choose a foreign advert for some strange reason, just because it's quite a nice execution at the end, where you've got this sort of interactivity with the Samsung phone and showing the features of the phone. So you've got that kind of lower funnel piece on top of the upper funnel. But I suppose the point of this is that, still going. The point of this is that we stop the content, play the video, the consumer chooses when that ad is shown, and then they go back to the content. So it's very much like the TV experience. But I suppose the slight difference is that it's an ad break of 1. Slight difference is that the consumer chooses when that ad is served versus the sort of ad breaks that you get on TV. But exactly the same idea, pretty high CPMs. Advertiser gets exactly what they're looking for in terms of telling their video story. So this is, and I suppose the context of all of this is that it's not like a niche channel anymore. It's like 20 million people every month do these types of things, and this is a kind of credible video format. It's just new to advertisers, and things like rewarded video, which that was, where the consumer chooses to get some coins to go to the next level, has a kind of bad name for some reason. It's okay to run a pretty shitty ad in a scrollable video format that no one can see, but that's on a premium publisher, but not so good to run a kind of a rewarded format. So a lot of education for us in the industry to kind of move this forward. Other couple of things that I just wanted to get across, final kind of nuance of why this sort of environment works for attention. Firstly, mindset. So once again, lots of adults that buy goods, not children, in terms of the context of where people play these games or play mobile games. So 25% while commuting, relaxing at home, while in bed, watching the TV. So the mindset, I think, is a contributor to the high attention scores that we get as a channel. And interactivity, so the way in which we can take a video ad, a TV video ad, and add interactivity either during the ad or after the ad helps to boost that attention. We've got some stats in the next slide. So we did some studies with amplified intelligence to look at how attention broke down between the video ad itself and things like interactivity and the end card. And actually, it was the interactivity in the end card that delivered more attention than the video ad itself on balance between different ad lengths. We also found that actually attention on our channels anyway, on mobile channels, didn't decay too much between the 15 to the 20 to the 30-second ad. I think the optimal ad length that we're seeing at the minute in our environment is around 20 seconds. Which is obviously a long time for most channels. And that's part of that is around that mindset and that environment piece. So obviously the last bit was probably a little bit salesy in terms of why our channel's good for delivering attention, but hopefully there was some interesting stats there in terms of how the digital video market breaks down from an attention point of view. I know it's a lot more nuanced, and I know brand outcomes are important, but I just think from a pure video perspective, video ads should be played with the sound on to the end so you get the messaging and you get that power of that creative. And I feel like as an industry we have most fantastic creative agencies, and a lot of that creativity is kind of diluted when we put it into digital channels. And I don't think it has to be like that. It requires publishers to change maybe the way that they think about their ad formats, the way that they think about monetization on their page, and change some of these formats, which are effectively display formats that we're ramming videos into. There is nothing wrong with a lot of these formats if you're putting display on, but it's when you start ramming in video is where the insanity starts, and then a little quote at the end. So that's it for me. Thank you.